From Durant, Oklahoma, this is Midwest Sports Saturday. It's our first edition of 2020, and welcome into the broadcast. I'm Joey McWilliams, very, very glad to get to be with you today. Thanks for watching as always. Today's edition of Midwest Sports Saturday is presented by the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and I am joined right off the bat here in Durant on the campus of Southeastern Oklahoma State University, just down the road actually from where I am, which is pretty good today because it has been sleeting and snowing, and I know those of you watching us throughout the MidwestSports.net footprint are going, you're not seeing that much, Joey, in Southeastern Oklahoma. We have a lot more, but it's very cautious, very, very cautious driving around here. I am seated next to the athletic director of Southeastern, Coach Keith Baxter, and to me, he's always coached because, you coached the football team here for a number of years, being an offensive coordinator, also then the head coach here in the early 2000s. So I respect you as the athletic director, but that title of coach is just going to stay with you today. I hope you're okay with that.
I'm perfectly fine with that, Joey. That's what I answer to most around here, so I appreciate that. And we appreciate you being here on campus today. The campus of 1,000 Magnolias is a little blustery with the yes, white snow and sleet outside, but we welcome you, and especially on your birthday, so I'd like to say happy birthday to you today.
Well, thank you very much. It is interesting, by the way. It seems to snow on my birthday every 8 years. I'm not kidding. It's a cycle, but this is the 7th year, so I'll take it now, and then we'll look for snow next year. But traffic was definitely slow in Durant today. People very cautious, but I think it's going to clear up in time for folks to come down and see what's going on behind us right now. We have a doubleheader here. It's a Great American Conference basketball doubleheader, college basketball on the Division II level. It will be Southeastern hosting Southern Arkansas today. And, Coach, I mean, this is a really good time to be a Southeastern basketball fan as both men's and women's teams are in the lead in the conference standings.
Yeah, Coach Green and Coach Grover and their staffs and young men and young women have done a great job this year going out and competing and playing on the road, playing at home, and are really have put a good product on the court. And I don't mean to discount our student athletes by saying a product, but when you come, they're very entertaining. Both teams are very entertaining. They're up and down the floor. They shoot the three a lot, and we've been very, very fortunate to be competitive this year. Both teams ranked in the national polls at one time, and that hasn't happened since we have gone NCAA Division II, so that was a historic event for us. And we look forward for them to continue the progress and having success throughout the year. Today's matchup with Southern Arkansas will be a fight, just like every week in the GAC. I was visiting with Coach Green yesterday afternoon, and anywhere, anytime, anybody can beat anybody in this league, and that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's also one of the disheartening things about it because you're always playing very, very tough competition. But hopefully today that the weather will clear off and we will get a good crowd. The fans of Durant and Southeastern Oklahoma State University have been awesome this year. We've had some really, really good crowds. We had a few games over Christmas break that normally and historically are not very well attended, but the people of the community came out while the students were gone and really supported our team. So we're looking forward to a great second semester and appreciate the support of the community. Coach,
in bringing the community out, you talked about an entertaining product, and it really is, and I don't think that's in any way, any kind of detrimental statement toward the student athletes. This is, they play an entertaining brand of ball, but the home court advantage. And if you look at the Great American Conference right now, on the women's side, the top 5 teams in the conference are undefeated at home, Southeastern being one of those. On the men's side, the top 4 teams in the conference are undefeated at home, Southeastern being one of those. So folks coming to Bloomer Sullivan Arena here today, definitely there's a really good chance, if your home team is Southeastern, you're looking at a chance to really good chance to see a win.
Yeah, we hope that streak continues.
Exactly. Don't want to jinx that for Southeastern fans.
But coaches have a nature of being a little superstitious anyway. But we have played well at home, and most teams do play well at home. The travel schedule for the Great American Conference teams is such that teams may leave on a Wednesday and not return home until late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and it takes a mature group and a very experienced group to be able to handle those road games. So we're fortunate to have a pretty good home stretch, but we play a balanced schedule, so every home game we're going to have an away game against the same opponent, so we have to be competitive on the road. But again, Coach Green and Coach Grover and their staffs have done a super job. But coaches are coaches, but they can't do it without the student athletes. And we've got I think a very, very special group on both sides of student athletes. Not only are they entertaining up and down the floor, they're very, very, very valuable to our community and valuable to us academically on campus. They do a great job in the classroom. They're all good people. They're fun to watch. They're fun to be around, and we're very, very blessed to have the groups that we have right now.
It's a privilege to get to speak with Keith Baxter, who is the Director of Athletics at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, here on Midwest Sports Saturday, presented by the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. And, Coach, we have basketball going on right now. Winter sports, in full swing at the moment. But Southeastern is historically strong in the spring sports as well. I mean, you talk about softball and baseball, and this is a university with a lot of tradition in baseball, definitely. Coach Mike Matheny, who spent 50 years and more associated with the program in some capacity as a player or a coach, assistant coach, whatever the case may be, just inducted into another Hall of Fame. So you want to talk about historically great in baseball. The softball team just continues to grow in what it does and made it as a third-place finish within the last 10 years, now within this decade in the NCAA Division II. And so spring sports right around the corner.
Yeah, they're upon us. And, Joey, back in the day when I had some hair and it was cut in a little bit different style and participated in baseball in college, we never started before the last part of February, first part of March, and now we've got games into January.
Exactly.
And, so our kids are on campus already prior to the second semester starting, getting ready for the games to start here in a couple weeks. So it truly is a winter-spring kind of a transition for our baseball and softball teams. And you mentioned our softball program. Coach Fabian has done a great job, and he was here and left and came back and has done a super job with our softball program. Again, a program that definitely represents every level of student athlete that we want to, with a very good graduation rate, kids that are engaged in the community and are competitive on the field. And Coach Crabtree is going into his third year here. We're excited about the opportunity he has, the young men that he's brought to campus. He's made a lot of great changes on the field. I would think that our baseball field is one of the most recognizable facilities on campus as far as changes that have occurred in the last 3 or 4 years. And so we're really excited about that. The history that Coach Matheny and the foundation that he laid, it's almost, it's just remarkable. I mean, and to duplicate that, I don't know if that'll ever be done again. The number of years at one institution, the number of wins, the number of coaches of the year, the number of conference championships, World Series appearances, and the list just goes on and on. Not sure that will be duplicated in today's time, the way coaches move from spot to spot. And then, of course, I'd be very remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Parham, who laid the foundation for that baseball program and for the whole athletic program. And I used to question, never questioned Doc's authority at all, but I did question some of the thought processes. But after sitting in his office for a few years, I come to the realization he was smarter than I thought he was. So it's been a learning experience for me as well.
Doc Parham, former head baseball coach here, and Coach Mike Matheny, by the way, was an assistant under him, played for him, I believe. Didn't he? And it is now Mike Matheny Field, the baseball field here at Southeastern's campus, which is white, by the way, right now, with a little bit of sleet and snow out there. And then, of course, you mentioned the current head coach with Zach Crabtree and softball coach in Ron Fabian. Well, let me go back just a little bit and ask you really quickly about one of the fall sports, of course, football and volleyball, new eras in both of those programs as we started the year. Actually, and it's funny, too, Coach, because I had my first Midwest Sports Saturday of the 2019-2020 season here on Southeastern's campus, and it was 100-plus degrees outside, and I actually had to stop at one point because, it was ridiculously hot on Paul Laird Field. And here I am again, come back to Southeastern for the first time to do a show since then, and it's frigid outside. So just the difference here in Southeastern Oklahoma. But talking about those two programs, specifically volleyball, though, there are some changes happening to the facilities here to help that program grow even more.
Yeah, we are embarking on one of the most historic events, I believe, in Southeastern athletic history. We're renovating Bloomer Sullivan Gymnasium and utilizing the gym as we knew it, as we refer to as Old Bloomer, which legends like Dennis Rodman, Crystal Robinson, and people like that played. We're renovating that facility and making it really bringing it back to life, repurposing some of the rooms there. One thing that we're doing is creating a volleyball venue, and it'll be specific to volleyball. It will be a basketball practice facility, so we'll still have ability to have our basketball teams practice there, but it will be branded volleyball, and it'll be 100% volleyball oriented, where they have their own home venue, and we'll be one of the only teams in our conference in this region to have that as a separate venue. But the way we look at it, we can do it with a very modest some changes. With those changes, we will also add a strength conditioning facility that we've been greatly needing. Again, probably something that we've needed for the past 15 to 20 years. An upgrade there, we will move from an area of about 2,500 square feet to about 6,000 square feet. And then we'll have an indoor area that will be about 6,000 square feet, that on days like today, our student athletes will have somewhere to go. The outdoor activities will have somewhere to go and at least get some type of practice in. And that will help put us on a more level playing field with some of the people in our region that we're competing against. But it'll be something.
Central region's a tough region.
It is. It's a very tough region in all of our sports. And but that will help in recruiting. It will help in efficiency of our day-to-day method of operation for our coaches. One of the things that we have added this past year that again has been a historic thing for Southeastern is a strength conditioning coach, Zach Fears, who specializes in sports performance, and he handles all of our teams and does the conditioning and strength conditioning for all 11 of our sports programs.
Coaches, as we wind down our time again, and thank you for being with me today on Midwest Sports Saturday, you know, the program as a whole in a conference that really is coming into its own, I believe. The Great American Conference in its 9th year of existence, Southeastern, one of the original 9 members of the conference as it was founded and really got underway in 2011, open for business in 2011. But it's a conference that's growing. You talked about the how tough it is day in and day out in basketball, and I know it is in all sports. A nice balanced schedule, and I like that too. With the 12 teams in the conference, you can have that balance there. Just as you look at what Southeastern really has done now, and it's grown in itself in Division II, what do you see for the future?
Well, I think the future is very bright for Southeastern and our athletic programs. We've got good coaches. We've got good student athletes. The conference is very difficult, and virtually in every sport, it could be a different winner every weekend. And so we've got to get to that next level and recruit the student athletes that are not only very competitive on the field and courts and arenas and things like that, but we want them to be a good fit for the community and a good fit academically. And that's what we talk about. You know, our number one goal within our Department of Athletics for our students is to develop the student athlete on all levels, and we want to do everything that we can do to invest our time, resources, skills, whatever the case may be, into that student athlete, so that 5-10 years later, after their graduation date, that they can look back and have fond memories and have a good experience here. All
right, Coach Keith Baxter, the former football coach. By the way, what a run when you were coach too. I actually got my first my start in broadcasting my first year doing college sports was your first year as coach here back in 2001, and those 4 years I will always remember those too, because I was learning. I hope I'm a little better broadcaster now than I was 19-20 years ago, But I look back on those times, and you led the teams well. It was always an honor to call the games that you coached, because you knew you were going to put a good product out there, but quality students, as you said, the student athletes were taken care of first. And I know you do that right here at Southeastern as the Director of Athletics. So thank you for your time with us today, and thanks for stopping by and visiting with me.
Joey, thank you, and we always love having you on campus, and you're welcome here anytime. And just kudos to you for the job that you do of promoting small college athletics throughout the middle part of the United States. I mean, that's something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, and we greatly appreciate that, and I know many other fans out there do as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Well, I'm going to let Coach Baxter then step aside, and of course we do have a basketball doubleheader, and it's gotten quiet behind us right now. There were a lot of folks getting ready, and we have another guest coming up here in just a moment, so you can just leave the mic right there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Coach Keith Baxter. Here on Midwest Sports Saturday, which is presented by the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and I do want to say thanks to Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, one of our sponsors here for this broadcast and other things that we do on MidwestSports.net, on OklahomaSports.net, and even more locally on the Bryan County Patriot. And I'm going to mention the Bryan County Patriot here in just a moment with my next guest, so please come on up here. Another coach, current coach now, here on the campus of Southeastern. But it's a privilege to get now to have with me Coach Christy Broderick, who is the rodeo coach. Now, this is really pretty cool, because we've talked about rodeo here on Midwest Sports Saturday before, and we've actually had a spot with one of the coaches from Panhandle State last year. I've never had a live guest to get to talk rodeo about. So thank you for stopping by on this cold day, and you made it out. You braved the weather, which I know, again, is not that bad compared to some of the other places in the MidwestSports.net footprint.
Right.
But for Durant,
it's unusual.
It's unusual. Well, this is Coach Christy Broderick, whose rodeo teams, by the way, and I've been talking about the Great American Conference, and I know Southeastern is part of the Great American Conference, but when you start talking about rodeo, we're talking Central Plains now, the Central Plains region, and your teams are, among the top in the Central Plains right now. Talk about that.
Right. We've had, I would say the last 5 years, we've really had a lot more success, particularly the last 3 years. We've won the region either in the men's or women's championship, so in our region, which was really exciting. And this year we're sitting second, and our men, it's really close. We're actually sixth, but it's so close it could change at the next rodeo, which is probably the most competitive it's been in the men's side since I've been here. So I'm really hopeful this spring we come on and do what we did last year and get back up there. So
and you continually have competitors and athletes that are competing at the national level, the CNFR,
CNFR
out in Wyoming, and so you're constantly, and I like to follow it, and I'm not as good as I would like to be. I'd love to be able to broadcast one of these days, to get to that level. But that is such a high level of competition, and such a great venue and a place to get to push towards. Hey, listen, if you work hard, man, you can be in Wyoming. Right,
and that's in our world, it's compared a lot to the NFR, which is what professional rodeo athletes try to get to, and it's probably your version of a miniature NFR. And so once they get there and experience that, they want to make it back again. It's exciting, and it gets your school a lot of recognition, and it's just something that's great on a resume for them to gain sponsorships with too.
See, that's a little bit different too, because with a lot of the sports, the student athletes here, if you're fortunate enough to get to play on another level beyond college, you're not looking then to try to sell yourself even that much more. And, if you take this in your field, in your athletic field, if you will, to go beyond the college level, you still have to get back out there day after day and sell yourself again.
Right. It's and they compete in and out of college rodeo for money, so it is a lot different than NCAA regulations. Most students that rodeo do it professionally and do it for money every weekend. Yes. So it's
totally different.
It's totally different, and
it would be sanctions all over.
Right, and it's
if it was another sport,
and probably just because of what it costs to be able to do that, they're able to. So a lot of almost all the expense is on them, and so anything they can gain to help them get down the road is usually really appreciated. sponsorships.
How big is something like that? Because, again, when we have basketball going on behind Southern Arkansas, Southeastern basketball doubleheader, Division II college basketball. We're looking forward to that. Tip time at about 1 for the women's,
right.
and then following that 30 minutes or so for the men's game.
Right.
But, when they come to play,
right.
the university provides their uniforms. The university, provides the travel. The university provides a lot of things, and the conference to get these things taken care of. You get into rodeo, and it's a little bit different.
Right.
Especially now outside of the college level. But again, you talked about these kids doing it week in and week out.
Right. Every weekend they're pretty much competing somewhere, and that takes gas money, entry money, eating on the road, and all those expenses fall back on them. So it's an expensive sport. Pretty much have to win to keep doing it type sport, or have a great sponsor. And honestly, in college, it makes it even more difficult because they do have expense of going to school. You have, and so
that too.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And on top of just a regular student athlete, they're also, the majority of your team has animals. I mean, they're going to have horses, which require feeding and expenses, vet bills, and things like that. So it is an expensive sport to compete in. You got to love it, and you got to be good at it to keep doing it.
Well, I know that you love it, as I'm speaking with Coach Christy Broderick, who is the Southeastern rodeo coach at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, as we're here in Durant, the Midwest Sports Saturday presented by the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. And I say that then because when I called you yesterday, and we talk about a lot of things, and I like to promote the rodeo here in town and in the county with some of my ventures, but called and said, hey, listen, I'd really like for you to get to come on the show with me. And it took a little bit to get through. You weren't able to talk to me right off the bat because you were out taking care of things, and it was just dumping buckets of rain yesterday. And you said, I'm drenched. I'm soaked right now because you were taking care of the things that some other people may not think about.
Right. You have a facility, and school starts Monday, so I've been out trying to get it ready for 30 kids to come back with, lots of
animals,
horses and get ready to get livestock into practice on. And yeah, there is really no vacation in this because there's always something that needs to be done regarding a student or an animal or a vehicle.
One of those things.
One of those things.
And maybe more than one.
And that's not counting the school part, the academic part. So it's truly a full-time position.
Well, I mentioned the Bryan County Patriot, and that is another venture with Emerald Quest and of course, all of our sites with OklahomaSports.net and MidwestSports.net, and, of course, this YouTube channel, the Midwest Sports.net YouTube channel. But the Bryan County Patriot recently had a top 10 athletes of Southeastern for the decade of the 2010s. One of those athletes was Colton White, who was one of your athletes very recently. 3 times competed in the CNFR, the College National Finals Rodeo. And he and his partner actually won in team roping in 2019.
They were our latest 2 national champions, and they're kind of a local team as well. They're both Paris and Bonham, Texas, so they're Texoma boys. Colton, since I've been here, this is my 7th year, he's won more than any male that's went to school here. He's won the region 3 different times. He became a national champion. He competed at both ends of the arena, which is unusual. Competitively, he could ride bulls with the best of them, and he could heel. Well, naturally, he's a national champion, so he could heel that caliber. That's hard to find someone that can compete on both ends of the arena in rodeo. So I was so lucky to get him, and honestly, when he came here, it turned our program around. And I got a good group of boys that year, and I think it led to the success we had last year, finally winning the championship in our region, which is super tough. And I was most proud of that because it took him 4 years to win it, and I knew he could, and he finally was able to do that, and I was pretty proud of that.
Well, I have enjoyed talking rodeo here, and that is, again, first time to have a live guest to get to visit about rodeo here on Midwest Sports Saturday, presented today by the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. You look ahead because rodeo, by the way, it's not just a fall sport, it's not just a winter sport, it's spring sport. It is all throughout the year.
Right.
So you've already had a number of competitions, number of rodeos that you've had throughout the Central Plains region. You have some more in the spring, and then of course that will push toward opportunities, maybe regionally, and then possibly to
Right.
the CNFR again, and that's, I know, what you're pushing toward. Really quickly, as we wrap up time today, what is on the horizon for you? You said school starts tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Monday.
Right.
Man, this year's already going by fast.
Right.
School starts on Monday, and a number of athletes coming in. So how do you come out of the winter break into the spring?
Right. We come out, we go full force after the first week. We're back in the arena practicing every day. We gear everything around that goal every day of practicing. And I feel like if you try to reach that goal every day in the arena, you'll have an outcome you want at the end of the semester. So we get after it pretty good. And I look forward to that part of the day every day. And hopefully it'll get us back on top. And we'll have some success and keep it rolling.
All right. Well, congratulations for the success already. And again, it does warrant mention the Southeastern men currently in the Central Plains region standings, currently sitting at 6th.
Right.
And the Southeastern women currently sitting at 2nd. And
Right.
again, numbers that are fluid.
Right.
With each weekend.
Right, because we've competed 40% of our competitions is all, so we have 60% left, and a lot can happen this spring. So, I'm looking forward to it, actually.
All right. Well, good luck to you
Okay.
all and to all of your athletes, and thank you again for taking time with us today on Midwest Sports
Okay.
Saturday, and drive home safely.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Coach Christy Broderick, can you just put the microphone there
Okay.
right there? That is fine. Coach Christy Broderick, who is the rodeo coach for Southeastern Oklahoma State University, and this is a program that has been seeing much success. We get to talk about the campus of 1,000 Magnolias. It is possible we will have one more guest here as we are getting ready and set for a college basketball doubleheader. Southern Arkansas and Southeastern Oklahoma playing in Great American Conference play. Southeastern, the women's team, 6-1 in the GAC, and alone at the top of the conference standings. Southeastern's men 5-2 in league play, and in a four-way tie at the top of the conference standings. Really, one of the things about the GAC right now, you look at the standings and throughout the league and how this is playing out right now, there are so many teams that are at the top and playing at such a high level of competition that even as Coach Grover said, last time we had an opportunity to visit was at Southern Nazarene. Midwest Sports Saturday was there back in December 14th. You hope that all the teams play well because it does bear well for your regional rankings and regional standings. Then the flip side of it is you hope that you just don't beat each other up so that no team seems to be up near the top in the region. And we talked about the Central region, and it has been well documented on this program and more, and on the family of websites, MidwestSports.net and Emerald Quest family of websites, how tough this Central region really is. And in so many sports, I mean, volleyball, my goodness, it's an incredibly tough region there. But in basketball, and you're looking at, by the way, places where top teams in the country, you have the defending national champion in men's basketball in Division II in Northwest Missouri, I believe number 2 in the country right now. You have the number 1 team in the country, also it winds up being in the Midwest region with Drury playing the Great Lakes Valley Conference, but in this area of the country, the Drury Panthers number 1 in the country in Division II women's basketball. So it's a very tough place to play. You just don't want to beat each other up so badly that you don't make it out of the region, or that a conference gets one team in when clearly it was a conference that could put 2, 3, or more teams in the NCAA tournament in women's basketball and in men's basketball. Wanted to look through too, by the way, since we're here on Southeastern's campus, the campus of 1,000 Magnolias, and look at this article from the Bryan County Patriot and talking about the top Southeastern athletes of the previous decade of the 2010s. Number 10, Maxim Field, men's tennis. Two-time All-Great American Conference performer, the GAC Player of the Year in 2015, and led Southeastern to its first conference title in men's tennis. Number 9, a young lady who played on this court right behind me, Emily Williams, in women's basketball, a two-time All-GAC performer. Number 5 on the all-time scoring list here at Southeastern with 1,224 points in just 3 seasons of playing here for Southeastern. Number 8, Alexandra Reljic, who played women's tennis. She was a 4-time All-GAC performer, and she led Southeastern to the national quarterfinals in the NCAA tournament back in 2017. Number 7, Caitlin Cosby in volleyball, 4-time All-Conference performer in the Great American Conference, the 2017 Defensive Player of the Year, number 2 in the Great American Conference all-time in digs, with 2,377. Number 6, Raheem Wilson in football, an All-American, all-time leader in Southeastern and in the Great American Conference. In interceptions, he had 18, returned 4 of them for touchdowns, and blocked 3 kicks. Number 5, we talked about Colton White. Well, this is what he did. He competed in the CNFR 3 times. He won the national team roping title with Dalton Titsworth, by the way, back in 2019. We've been in 2020 now for 11 days. Back in 2019. Well, this is past spring. Number 4 is a young man who not only played on the court behind me, he will be playing this afternoon. Kevin Buckingham on this list, the only active player right now on the list of players in the all-decade team or all-decade list for Southeastern. Kevin Buckingham, 2-time All-GAC performer, likely will be a 3-time. The 2019 GAC Player of the Year, honorable mention All-American, reigning National Player of the Week for what he did with his play in Hawaii. He's currently number 6 on Southeastern's all-time scoring list with 1,575 points coming into 2020, and number 3 on the GAC scoring list. Number 3 on this list is Heath Wyatt in baseball, Southeastern, a 2-time All-American, and his numbers, he actually was another one of those players that's at the beginning or the end of a decade, so he played actually in the previous decade and into 2010 and 2011 for Southeastern. He was a 2-time All-American, led Southeastern to 3 Lone Star Conference championships, and of course that was the conference of which Southeastern was a member prior to being in the GAC. Drafted in the 2011 Major League Baseball first-year player draft, holds the single season and career records at Southeastern for games pitched with 35 in a season, 68 in a career, and saves with 16 in a season, and 31 for his career. He was the Division II saves champion back in 2011. The number 2 player on this list is Zach James in golf, 4-time All-GAC performer, helped Southeastern to its first ever Division II national championship appearance, the 2015 GAC Freshman of the Year, 2018 and 2019 GAC Player of the Year in men's golf. And topping this list, which again was put out by the Bryan County Patriot, Southeastern All-Decade Players, Jessica Simmons in softball, an All-American, into 2014 and 2016 GAC Player of the Year. That's interesting to have that gap in between. What a career. 4-time All-GAC performer, led Southeastern to a 3rd-place finish in the NCAA Division II tournament, finished as the career leader in the GAC. And some of these numbers have changed, but in so many categories, including career batting average, 409, on-base percentage, 492, hits, 276, runs, 212, doubles, 50, and stolen bases, 147. What an all-around player, Jessica Simmons, and she was at the top of the list. And, you know, any list like this is going to be up for debate, and there's already been some debate about this where some players should have ranked on the list, and players maybe that were not on this list that could have been on this list as well. And it's just part of having those fun lists like that all year, all season, all decade, all conference teams for whatever amount of time it is. So we're getting ready for a basketball doubleheader behind me in just a few moments, and we're going to be wrapping up right now our time here on Midwest Sports Saturday. I want to say thanks to the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma for being one of our sponsors for today's broadcast, and actually wouldn't mind. Like to step on, talk a little basketball. I'm going to pull one more guest here, and I know this is live, but he's been a guest with me before. The last time we had a chance to visit as he sat in. I believe we were in Searcy, Arkansas, getting ready for a football game, and we got to sit in as a guest.
It never happened that day, did it? Was that the one that didn't happen?
It did not happen that day. No, it did not happen that day. That is funny. I'd thought about that.
I think that wasn't that the year that we got
played on Sunday.
Only time that I've ever had a football game postponed in all the years I've done this to have a game postponed until the next day. We played on Sunday.
We did. I'm speaking now with Dan Gregory, who is the play-by-play voice of the Southern Arkansas Mule Riders. And and
I'm dressed for the weather. I just came in. I just walked in the door. Yeah,
it's still chilly outside. I'm sorry. I did want to get you on if you had just a moment to sit in with me right now. First off, thank you, and I appreciate getting to visit with you last year. And I look back on that. As a broadcaster, I would imagine that you can look at something and go, man, I'd like to be calling football on a Sunday someday. That took on a whole new meaning.
It happened.
in Searcy. And by the way, go back and that was Southern Arkansas and Harding. This was in 2018, the fall of 2018. Storm came in. It was supposed to be a nighttime game. Storm came in. Brutal storm came in. Lots of lightning.
Yeah.
And they decided that there was a delay in the game and then another delay in the game and another delay, and they just decided to put the whole thing off until Sunday.
Yeah, because they just couldn't see any end in sight to the lightning, so just had to postpone it until Sunday. I'd like to play Harding on Sunday every year because we very seldom beat them on Saturday, but we did beat them on Sunday.
And that was a low-scoring game.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
7-3 final, wasn't it?
Something like
that. And it was, I think it threw everybody's rhythm off a little bit.
Yeah.
But to get, hey, listen.
Anything to throw Harding's off, that's great.
Exactly right. If you're going to take on Harding, a perennial powerhouse in football, any advantage that you can get, even if you have to play the next day. So you're going to be calling 2 games here on the court here at Bloomer Sullivan Arena in just a few moments. Talk about Southern Arkansas. We start with the women's team. They're taking on a very tough Southeastern women's team.
Women's team, because the women's program has been down. Coach Adam Collins is now in his second year. Last year they kind of took their lumps. He wasn't able to do a lot of recruiting. Brought some of his players in. He is the guy that goes out and they press from opening tip-off to the final buzzer. They're going and going and going. He plays everybody on the roster, and they're running them in. You play till you get tired. You come out. Somebody else comes in, and that's the way it is. I haven't looked at the stats today, but coming into Thursday night, nobody was averaging double figures on the team. It's just one of those. He just keeps throwing players in, and they create a lot off of their defense, and so they're very exciting to watch. I may need oxygen before the year's out because they'll wear you out as an announcer or as a fan because you're just going, your adrenaline's pumping the whole time.
You should have fun with this one because I know you've called Southeastern games with Coach Darren Grover's team, who does the same thing.
Yeah,
so
yes.
You better know your roster pretty well, sir, today.
Yeah, yes. So it's going to be up and down the floor, and I don't know the Southeastern roster, but I'm sure I'll get familiarized with it pretty quickly.
Really quickly. Men's game to follow, though, and again, taking on a Southeastern team at the top of the standings. This is a men's program that has a tall order today.
Yeah, they really do because the Mule Rider, the defense played at East Central Thursday night. Held East Central, I think, has been averaging like 90, 91 points a game. Held them to 65. Problem was we didn't score but 60. So they've had trouble scoring. I guess everybody knows by now that they're not good at the free throw line. They're under 60%, I think, as a team. You just got a lot of guys on the team, and guys that you wouldn't expect to be not good free throw shooters are not good free throw shooters, and not exactly setting the nets on fire from the field either. Last year they had a lot of guys that could make threes. This year, not so much. It's been a tough year, for scoring for SAU. So if they can ever get that figured out, they'll be a team to be reckoned with. But they haven't figured it out so far. Lost to two of the last place teams in the conference with Northwestern and Southwestern last week at home, and that was a big setback.
That was a tough one. Well, in light of that, then though, and again, Dan, thank you very much for sitting in with me this morning.
No problem.
Just one more question because I know that you've got to get ready for your broadcast, and we're wrapping up ours here, so I'll get to be a fan for a little bit and just watch some college basketball today. You look at the GAC right now; it's very top heavy. Both women's and men's standings are very, very top heavy.
Yes.
There's 7 or 8 teams that are right up there within a game or two of first place. It drops off a little bit at the bottom with the full 12 complement in the league, but a very top heavy league. And you have to wonder, and I was just talking about this, how it's good for the conference in the fact that there's so many teams that are quality teams. But it looks like, there's potential over the next few weeks to just beat each other up.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I think on any given night, of course, SAU found that out last week. I think on any given night, anybody can beat anybody. Our guys, like I said, they lost to a couple of teams they probably shouldn't have lost to last week. The women, they seem to play better against nationally ranked teams. They've beaten Harding this year. They beat Southwestern, Oklahoma State. So it's hard to figure out. It really is. But I think on any given night, any team can beat the other.
But it's a good conference and a growing conference.
Yes, it is. It is. A lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, for sitting in with me right
Thank
now,
you.
talking a little
Thank
college
you for-
basketball and more, and I look forward to a good broadcast today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here front. You can go ahead and set that down. It's all right. You
Okay.
can go ahead and take care of your business, and I know you're bundled up to go outside a little bit more. To wrap things up from Durant, again, thanks for watching today. Midwest Sports Saturday. I believe we're going to be in the studio next Saturday, and then the following week we will be at Oklahoma City University, OCU, for a Mid-America Christian Oklahoma City doubleheader. Lots to talk about as we have more sports coming up in January, and we'll have a few more things on the docket for next Saturday, so please be sure and tune in for that. I would appreciate it. I want to say thanks to all my guests, to Dan Gregory and to Coach Christy Broderick and to the Athletic Director here at Southeastern, Coach Keith Baxter, for being on the program with me today. Thanks also to our sponsor, the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, for allowing us to come today into your homes or however it is you're watching this broadcast today. I really appreciate that. Thanks also to my family, and I'm looking forward to seeing them a little bit later today. It's going to be a good birthday. It's already snowed on the birthday, so that's a good thing too. So thanks again for watching. Keep it right here. GAC Weekly, its home is on the MidwestSports.net YouTube channel, so be looking for that on Monday. And a couple more summits next week as well, and then Midwest Sports Saturday a week from today. So again, thanks for watching. God bless you. Have a great day. Thanks again. Keep it right here, and be sure and subscribe to this channel. There we go. Subscribe to this channel, MidwestSports.net. God bless you. Have a great day.